more specifically, we're going to be talking about fruit sugar and the sugars that we are consuming on a regular basis that are causing us some problems and how it is we can fix some of those things. So if you're joining us live, welcome. If you're jumping on the rebroadcast with us later, welcome as well. I always ask that you take a second to leave me a comment in the comment section. If you're new, please take a second to introduce yourself. And if you are joining us as part of our regular community, always feel free to leave a comment. Let me know where you're joining from and if you've been one of our previous students or if you're registered for a future course that we will be doing. I always like to take a second to introduce myself. My name is Diane, and for the past 25 years, I've been helping women find nutritional plans and fitness programs to help them look and feel their best and live their most authentic life here in this community. We do that through the process of education, intermittent fasting, and living a keto-like lifestyle. Today, we are going to talk about fruit, and we're going to talk about sugar. And I know this is going to be one of those areas that I'm going to get a lot of but what's or what about kind of questions. And so what I'm really going to ask you guys to do for me today is just listen to the information that I'm going to share with you today. Visualize how your body works. So I'm going to explain how some sugar is broken down in our body. I want you to think about where your state of affairs are today, health-wise, or maybe where you are feeling a little bit frustrated with your inability to lose weight, or maybe some extra body fat that you have. And then at the end, I'm going to ask you guys to just do me a little bit of a favor. And I want you to pay attention all the way through. I don't want you to jump to conclusions. I want you to have an open mind, and I don't want you to be too quick to respond until I get to the end. So before we can talk about fruit sugar, we really have to understand sugar, and how sugar really breaks down and is utilized in our body. So we know about table sugar. It is also called sucrose. That is just sugar in general. When we consume sucrose, our body has an enzyme that breaks sucrose down into glucose and fructose. Glucose is what we store as energy. We talk about that a lot here. We know that we have glucose in our system. It is stored in our liver as glycogen, and that is a primary energy source that our body utilizes. Fructose, on the other hand, is stored in our liver immediately as fat. So it doesn't go through the same process breakdown in our body chemically as glucose does. So that's a key thing to remember as we continue on with this discussion. So we have sucrose that is broken down in our body through our body system into into glucose and fructose. So glucose, again, we talk about that a lot here. Glucose is what is produced in our body. It is turned into glycogen and stored in our liver and our muscles. It's what we burn off first when we are utilizing energy from our own body system. Glucose is readily available. It's super easy for our body to use. And so this is where we become so sugar dependent and sugar addictive, in the fact that we get sugar in our body, we have energy, we burn it, then we start to take a dip, so we feel like we need to eat more, so then we eat again. That's that six meals a day spread out through several hours, every couple hours in the day, or we start to take these kind of things, right? And that's just because that's what our body is so accustomed to utilizing as energy, because we've trained it to do that, to operate that way. And then there's fructose. This is commonly known as fruit sugar, found naturally in fruit and some vegetables. And this type of sugar is metabolized in our liver. So we know that glucose, which becomes glycogen stored in our liver and our muscles, our body metabolizes that. Our entire body metabolizes glucose. But when we take in fructose, which is fruit sugar, the only part of our body that metabolizes that is our liver. Now, some things to remember, but this is where I want you to really keep an open mind. When we take in fruit sugar or fructose, our body does not create an insulin response to that type of sugar, nor do we produce leptin. Now think about this. We also know that insulin is not just released when we consume calories. Our body has an insulin reaction when we have the sensation of food being introduced into our system. So the sweetness sensation does produce an insulin response, but the fruit sugar itself does not. And this is where a lot of people get tripped up with fruit being good or bad, because we can't necessarily measure an insulin or blood glucose response from fruit itself, but our body still does have a reaction. It's just not a positive one. And that's because fructose doesn't go through the same chemistry system as other sugars do. So keep that in mind as we keep talking. So where does sugar cause us problems? Because sugar is God's fruit, right? It's created from the earth. It's a one ingredient type of food. It's a whole food. These are the things that we should be consuming if we want to have health and overall well-being. Well, when we understand how fruit is broken down, or fruit sugar is broken down in our body, and then we understand how we consume carbohydrates or sugar in general as a society, this is where we can start to realize where the problem with fruit really does lie in our lives. So we're an overfed society. We talk about that a lot here. We are led to believe that when we're full or we're being fed, that we are worthy, that we're happy, that helps relieve stress, that it's our right as women, if we feel a certain way hormonally or emotionally, that we have the right to feed ourselves. And so what ends up happening is we become overfed. Overfed should really be visualized in your body as your body's inability to let its systems operate the way they were designed to operate. So it's a flood almost, or a backup of our body systems. So if we know that when we consume food, carbohydrate heavy type of diets, we talked about this last week when we were talking about insulin, and our cells become flooded with glycogen, then they are unable to do what they're designed to do. The same thing happens with our liver when we have too much stored glycogen and we're consuming too much fruit or fructose. Remembering that fructose only is metabolized by our liver and not metabolized in the same fashion as starchy carbohydrates are. So we get this liver backup. When we have too much glycogen stored, that turns to fat. When we're eating or consuming too much fruit or fructose, that goes straight into our liver as fat. This is where we run into the problem of having a fatty liver. Fatty liver leads to insulin resistance. Insulin resistance leads to diabetes. Keeping in mind that we now know that fatty liver and insulin resistance is not an overnight condition. It happens over the span of our lifetime. Probably when we were on the soccer field and we were served oranges at our halftime break, and then we have the fruit snacks in the cupboard as a snack, and we have the bananas, and we have the apples, and we have the grapes packed in our lunch. We're constantly being fed these sugars, and we are falsely believing that fruit is the snack that we are supposed to have, and then we pass that down through generations. Knowing this information now and understanding how glycogen is stored in our liver and fructose is stored in our liver, we can start to visualize what is happening to our bodies and why it is we are so frustrated with where we're ending up with abdominal fat and body fat in places that we're not happy with, our inability to lose weight, and our hormones being completely out of balance. Keeping in mind again that insulin is that hormone that seems to be triggering a lot of other hormones, either in the good or the bad direction. So what can we do to alleviate this problem or help our body system function the way it's designed to function? When I was personally diagnosed as pre-diabetic, I was also insulin resistant. I was also putting fat on in places I normally wasn't putting on fat, and I was not feeling my best. This was at a time when I was turning to fruit as almost my primary source of nutrients because I was also going through a period of time where I was becoming very intolerant to a lot of foods, gluten, dairy, and soy, all because of my hormone imbalances. So this is where I want you guys to really start visualizing your life and your body and how it is that we get to exactly where we're supposed to be, whether it's sick or not sick. I was consuming fruit because it was the only thing that didn't make me feel bad at the time. So I was literally living on fruit. That led me to that pre-diabetic state from my previous insulin resistance type of life that I know I had been living my whole childhood and adult life as a woman. I pushed myself into a pre-diabetic state by consuming too much fruit and having some other underlying hormonal imbalances. When I put all of this together and I started really being conscious about where fruit had a place in my life, that's when things really started changing for me. And when I was utilizing the advantages of being intermittent fasted and living the keto-like lifestyle. And this is where you have to really become conscious with your lifestyle, what you're putting in your body, and understanding how your body's systems are designed to work. So I had to break my fruit addiction, which is very difficult to do because I'm a California girl. I love my fresh fruit. And there was no one that was going to tell me that my grapes or my apples or the banana that I was putting in my smoothie was making me sick and making me fat. I put it to the test. And here's exactly what I did to realize how bad fruit was for my body at this stage in my life. I made a calendared system for where I placed fruit into my nutritional plan. And the way I started was putting Tuesdays and Thursdays as the only days that I would consume fruit. And I had one piece of fruit on a Tuesday and one piece of fruit on a Thursday. I had one green apple and I had it with peanut butter because that was the snack that my daughter and I enjoyed together after school. And I really did start noticing that layer of hormonal fat on my midsection start to go away. I retested my blood work after a series of time of fasting, eliminating fruit, and really being conscious about the carbohydrates that I put into my body. And then over time, with some consistency, I was able to reverse my pre-diabetic state, and I'm no longer insulin resistant. And I really consciously think about fruit before I consume it in my day. Fruit, in my opinion, and especially now understanding where fruit is metabolized in my body and the problem that it's going to cause me down the road, I rarely have fruit. And when I have fruit, I make a very conscious decision about where and when I'm having it and understanding what it's going to do to my body. And the first thing I do when I start to notice an undesired layer of body fat on my body is I eliminate my fruit. I eliminate fruit before I eliminate any other thing. And the first thing that I notice is that my body starts to slim down and that layer of body fat starts to just disappear. And it starts to disappear because I'm allowing my body's systems to operate exactly the way they're supposed to operate to utilize the energy sources that I have in storage. Remember, we're going to go back to the beginning again. When we take in glucose, that is converted into glycogen and it is stored in our liver and our muscles, and that's the energy source that we utilize first. If we can reduce the amount of glucose we take in and reduce the amount of stored glycogen that's in our liver and our muscles, we can burn it off quickly and we can fast it away. So time in a fasted state is really going to be to our advantage to empty out all of that storage that's in our liver and allow us to actually get to that fat burning state. If we are over consuming that fruit and it's just being stored as fat in our liver, and we're over consuming other foods or carbohydrates and we're not either fasting it away and or the most ideal situation would be fasting and exercising away that stored glycogen, then we're never going to get to that point where we can actually burn through the glycogen and get to the fat and then utilize it in the way that we need to utilize it to become fat adaptive and start getting into that healing process. Now, a thing we also need to remember about or know about fructose is that fructose, because of the way that it's broken down and processed in our body's chemistry system, I noted and shared with you guys that it doesn't create the same insulin response as other foods that we consume. But the other thing that fructose doesn't allow to happen is it doesn't allow the process or the production of leptin as well. Now, if you're in our courses, we talk a lot about the hunger hormones and why it is we need to balance those out. Leptin being that hormone that produces the feeling or sensation in our body or our hormones that we are satiated or that we're full. And it also is that hormone that allows our metabolism to work properly. It's responsible for making sure that our metabolic burn rate is acting correctly, and that our level of calories in and out are balancing out. So that really is where that metabolic burn rate comes into place. So if we have too much fructose in our system and our body doesn't have the opportunity to produce leptin, then now we have a whole nother set of hormones that are going to be out of balance. Those are our hunger hormones. We have leptin, we have ghrelin, and we have our neuropeptides. So fruit is really causing us all kinds of hormonal imbalance, not only through the process of the fact that, it's just getting stored right into our liver as fat, but it's also causing insulin and leptin to not act or respond the way that they are designed to respond in our body. This in turn causes such grave hormonal imbalance, and then we start to get ourselves so out of whack that we can no longer lose weight. So, is fruit good for us, or is fruit bad for us? I honestly think that it is one of those things that you have to make a personal decision about where you're going to place fruit in your own life. I am not the person that's going to say that fruit is good or bad. I can share with you the experience that I have, and I have to be honest with you and say that fruit is not completely eliminated from my life, but it is that one thing that I get rid of as soon as possible when I start to notice that my body is not looking or feeling the way I want it to look. I have to go back and retrace my steps and think, oh my gosh, I'm letting fruit into my day or into my week in too many instances. So for you ladies that are out there that are having your smoothies and you're thinking that you're doing yourself some good because it's loaded with nutrients in the form of blueberries, bananas, guavas, mango, strawberries, you're really creating a huge liver fat bomb for yourself that's going to back up your fat burning opportunities and put yourself eventually into a state of diabetic shock, which is what happens to us when we're living a healthy lifestyle, but we're just consuming the wrong foods for what it is we want to have our end result to be. Fruit is just that thing that is going to trick us every single time. We also want to keep in mind with fruit, for those of you who are thinking, but there's so many nutrients in fruit and there's so many things that we need to get from fruit. We also have to realize that in this day and age of food production in general, the fruit that was once nutrient dense is not as nutrient dense as we really are led to believe. So that apple that you're consuming is loaded with fructose and not so loaded with nutrients. The process of picking fruit when it's still green and having it ripen in a truck or ripen in a store is another one of those situations where the fructose production in our fruit is so high and the nutrient levels are so low. So we're getting an abundance of nutrients and we're being tricked, an abundance of fructose, and we're being tricked into believing that we're getting an abundance of nutrients. There are so many other places that you can get the same nutrients that you can find in fruit. Just Google it. So if you're eating bananas because you want to have potassium in your system, honestly, the best thing you could do is probably go have a potato or find another sort of source of potassium. There's potassium in so many other foods, or take a supplement. Do what you have to do to make sure that you get nutrient density in your life, but don't be tricked into believing that fruit is the place where nutrients are going to be the most dense. The most dense thing that a piece of fruit is going to get you today is a bunch of fructose, which is going to go straight into that liver. It's going to back up the fat in that liver, which is going to then make us insulin resistant and then lead us into that diabetic state. And we all know where diabetes is going to end up leading us to. If it's not type 2, it's going to be the new form of diabetes, which is type 3. And in this environment, in this community here, that's the one thing most of us are fearing, is that we are going to get to that stage of life where we start to develop dementia and Alzheimer's disease, and fruit can be directly linked to what's going to happen to us down that road if we end up having to go through the battle of either being a type 2 diabetic or being a type 3 diabetic, where we start to lose that cognitive function as well. So some things we've done in our house is we've just stopped purchasing so much fruit. We really don't buy fruit from Costco anymore, because when you buy fruit from Costco, you have to buy it in bulk, and then it's sitting on the counter, and then you feel like you're wasteful if you're not consuming it. So fruit has really been that thing that when we go to the grocery store, we just purchase it in a different way. So we've changed our purchasing habits of fruit. I personally really don't have fruit as part of my daily nutritional intake anymore. I sneak it in every now and then as a treat with my family, but I really do have to consider it a dessert type of indulgence. And if I want to have a certain look or a certain feel, then I really have to be conscious about how I'm consuming dessert. And if I'm consuming dessert on multiple times during the day, whether that be in the form of fruit or in the form of a brownie, I'm not going to look and feel my best. And that's really where we should place fruit today, is in the dessert category and not in the fruit and vegetable category. Fruits and vegetables are really not in the same food group, just because of what we have as far as the sugar makeup and the difference between a fruit and a vegetable. Now, of course, there are some vegetables that are higher in sugar content, so you want to be cautious and aware of those as well. But really, the best thing I can do, the best thing that you guys can do for yourself, and here's where I'm going to ask you guys a favor, and this is where I personally figured all of this out for myself. There's so many studies out there, and there's so many experts out there. If you talk to a plant-based nutritionist, they're going to tell you you're crazy if you eliminate fruit from your diet. And if you talk to a someone who's ketogenic, they're going to tell you that you're crazy if you're going to put fruit into your life. So here's what I want you guys to do for yourselves. Become your own scientist. Run your own tests on your own body system. That's what I had to do to figure this out for myself, because I didn't want to let go of my fruit. But fruit was a thing that was making me sick. So I ran a test. I first started my test by sticking my fruit on 2 days a week. Tuesday and Thursday were my apple days. And if you go back through some of my social media posts, you'll see on Tuesday and Thursday, I had my typical snack, which was a green apple diced up with a little bit of sunflower seed butter and some sunflower seeds, and I did it 2 days a week. That was it. Now I'm at the point where I don't do it at all. Again, if I have fruit, it's considered a dessert. When you're intermittent fasting and your feasting window is so narrowed down, you really have a great opportunity to do this kind of test with yourself, because your eating window is so small. So you don't have to worry about getting all the food groups in. You're just going to be worried about getting that higher fat, lean to moderate protein, and then very conscious carbohydrates into your system. When you're eating conscious carbohydrates, you want to make sure that fruit is not part of that equation when you're in the healing process of this phase of intermittent fasting and transitioning into a keto-like lifestyle. You want to make sure that when you're consuming conscious carbohydrates, they're going to be the carbohydrates that are going to fuel your body through the process of glucose to glycogen into that stored fat that you're going to eventually be able to utilize when you're in a fat adaptive state. So be very conscious where you're placing your carbohydrates, and know that time and consistency are going to be your best bet. What I suggest when you're doing any kind of test like this is do it for 7 days. Eat your fruit the way you're normally eating your fruit for 7 days, and evaluate how you look and feel. Take a 7-day period and completely eliminate your fruit from your nutritional plan, and then reevaluate how you look and feel. Compare the two, and then make the best decision that you can make for your life, so that you are looking and feeling your best and living your most authentic life. Be your own scientist, run your own test, do your own research. So if you are in our course, we created 2 handouts for you. One is Diane's fructose chart, so you're going to get that, as well as sugar in your body, which is going to be a detailed account of what I talked about today, defining sucrose, glucose, fructose, what those things do in your body and how your body breaks that down. If you're not in one of our courses, if you put, Kara, I'm going to ask you to, I think it's add me is what we usually put in the comments on Facebook, then we will make sure that you get the fructose chart. And basically what that is, it's the lowest amount of fructose fruit down to the highest amount of fructose fruit. If you want to consume fruit in your life or just put it in as a treat or dessert every now and then, you'll want to take these ones from the top and add them in and avoid these ones from the bottom as much as possible. So hopefully Carol will put the words that you guys need to say in there while I'm introducing everyone and answering questions and comments. I'm going to start up here with YouTube if you don't mind. Oh, so type notes. Okay, so on Facebook, type notes into the comments and then you'll get the notes from today's discussion for sure. Okay, let's see. Kim, hello, welcome. Amy needed this topic. Thank you. I'm in April class. Can't wait. Amy, I can't wait for you to get in there too. It's going to be eye-opening for you. Christy, April course. Awesome. Another Christy from March. Deborah from Nevada, January and February classes. Michelle, great explanation. Oh, you're welcome, girlfriend. So here's my deal with all of this research that's out there, and as a certified exercise nutrition coach myself, I really have to break it down into sort of like a picture of what's going on inside my body. And I think that's why I'm not really into counting calories and counting macros and all that kind of stuff. That stuff doesn't mean anything to me if I don't understand what's happening inside my body when I put something in it. And so I really do try to provide information for you guys here in a visual format so you know exactly what's happening. So when I realized that that banana that I was putting in my shake every day that was making it so smoothie and creamy was actually just dumping fat into my liver, which was causing my liver to back up with fat, which is causing me to become fat, it was really easy for me to get rid of that banana. And that's really how we have to visualize what's going on in our body. What's the end result and the chemical breakdown that's going inside of our body? And is that worth it or not? For some people it is. For me, it just wasn't. And knowing what my own sugar sensitivities with my own body chemistry, it all made complete sense to me. So if I want to look lean, if I don't want to have all that what I call hormonal cellulite on my abs and on the outside of my legs and the back of my thighs, I have to get rid of fruit. And I don't like that fat on my body more than I enjoy my fruit. And that was an easy compromise for me to make, and it was the one that really helped my body release the body weight that it was holding on to and really get rid of a lot of that body fat that was making me feel so frustrated as an aging woman. So it'll do the same thing for you as well. Let's see, Tina. In March course, things are going more smoothly now that I've had your help. Awesome, Tina. I appreciate that. The course is really designed to help you guys think for yourself. Again, there's so much information out there. One day we're counting calories, one day we're not counting calories, one day we're having 3 to 5 servings of fruit a day, and no fat, and then the next day we saw something else, or we can have 15 calories a day and still be in a fasted state, and oh my gosh, I can have my apple cider vinegar in the morning with some lemon juice, and I'm fasted because so-and-so said so. Sure, run the test. Do your apple cider vinegar with lemon juice in the morning. Do you feel fat adaptive? Are you making the positive changes? And then take it out. And that's really what I try to provide for you guys in the course, is this information so broken down that you can visualize what's going on in your body, run your own tests, and then see what works and what doesn't work. I want you guys to quiet off all that extra noise out there with all these people that are leading you astray. CJ, how could it be healthy to never eat fruit or only eat it a few times a week on a regular basis? I understand it in the short run, but not as a continuing lifestyle. CJ, test it out. Like, what is fruit bringing to you that you can't get somewhere else? So what one thing is fruit bringing you that you cannot get somewhere else? And if you find a fruit that is bringing you one thing that you can't find somewhere else, then yeah, maybe that's the fruit that you decide to keep in your lifestyle. But I can't find one fruit that's going to bring me something that I can't find somewhere else in a source that's not going to also produce the same fructose reaction chemically in my body. So again, that's a personal choice. But I feel and look my best when I am not consuming fruit. And I did go through a probably 6-month period of time where I did not touch fruit at all. And that was when I was my absolute best. Again, what happens as we start to get healed is we get a little lax, we get a little cocky, I start adding fruit back in, and I start seeing those old feelings and those old looks start coming back to my body. And if I wasn't paying attention to it and I just went back to the way I was before, I would get as sick as I was before. So we have to stay conscious and we have to be real with what happens in our body chemistry. This is why you have to understand why and how our hormones work together and why they need to be in sync with one another. And then you can make decisions for yourself. Let's see. Style by Christina. You're welcome. Dana, you're welcome to Kara. Linda, thank you. I thought I was connected to on Facebook. Nope, you're on YouTube, girlfriend. Michelle, I started intermittent fasting on my own and I gained 10 pounds. What do you think I might have done wrong? I don't do any cardio. Michelle, if you were intermittent fasting and you gained weight, then you're not truly understanding what intermittent fasting or being in a truly fasted state is, and you're probably not consuming the right foods in your feasting window. The only advice I can give you is I would say join our course, and I teach you how to make it all work together. Style by Christina. I've gone 4 days without fruit. I feel good. Great. Michelle, when I did keto about a year ago, I lost 15 pounds, but found it wasn't easy. Okay, so Michelle, that's where we combine intermittent fasting with a keto-like lifestyle. You don't have to go ketogenic 100%, and you use intermittent fasting as the missing link for what you're not getting in a ketogenic, true ketogenic diet. So it's a perfect combination to achieve the results that you're looking for. Gloria, I also feel better not eating fruit. It's nature's candy. Yeah, it's forbidden for a reason, right? Okay, let's see what we got over here on Facebook, and then YouTube, I'll jump back on with you guys in just a second before we finally log off. And remember, in Facebook, put the notes in the notes section, in the comment section, and we'll send you this. All of my course members, you're going to get both handouts in your course in the bonus section. Joy, welcome. You're first on Facebook. Welcome. Julie, taking time for me by listening to you while working. Good for you, girlfriend. Linan, hello. Catherine from Utah in the January course. Rachel, hello there. Very interested in this topic. Good. Jillian, hello. Sharon, hello. Tammy, hello. Darlene. Okay, so all you guys are getting in the notes. Awesome. Christina, March course member from Minnesota. Welcome. Christy from Australia. I love when my Aussie girls are here. Jill, hello. Patricia, just finished my swim. Oh, awesome, girlfriend. Good for you. Jody, glad to finally have caught you live again. I know, girlfriend, I haven't seen you in forever. It's good to have you back. Cindy, is just adding 1/8 of a cup of blueberries too much in my shake or cream cheese pancakes? I don't know. You have to, Cindy, you have to run the test on that. And blueberries are one of the ones that's on kind of the top of the list, mid to the top of the list. So you got to test it and then see what kind of results that you're getting. But remember, you know, pancakes and cream cheese also carry a lot of carbs in them as well. So, you know, how many carbs are you going to add into one meal? And this is where a lot of people get caught up, right? You'll see these big bowls of oats, and on top of it are blueberries and strawberries and raspberries and blackberries, and you've got carbs on carbs. So you've got your starchy carbs on top of your fructose carbs, and all of that, if it's not utilized properly, is going to be stored right into that liver as fat. So where are you going to consciously put your carbs in? And do you need blueberries in your pancakes? Why don't you chop up some pecans and put them in your pancakes? And that would be a better opportunity to get a little protein and a little fat and not adding on more sugar onto your pancakes. So test it out and see how your body responds. Patricia, losing the feed. Oh, sorry to hear about that. Eat seasonal and eat local. Yeah, that's for sure. The seasonal fruit, when you get it in season and you get fruit that's grown locally, has lower fructose in it. And a lot of times when these fruits are picked out of season and then ripened en route, they have a higher amount of fructose as well. So you got to know where you're getting your fruit from as well if you're going to keep consuming it. Jennifer, I found I can tolerate hummus but not strawberries. I ate strawberries and immediately felt all the old symptoms of insulin resistance, including increased hunger, sluggishness, and weight gain on the scale the next day. That's your leptin, girlfriend. Fruit is not my friend, at least not now. Perfect. And again, those strawberries might not have been ripened properly, which is where they're going to get that higher amount of fructose in them as well. So you got to know, where that's coming from as well. But I'm glad that you're tuning into those feelings for sure. And I did a live a few months ago where I talked about when I ate watermelon and how sick I got. because I hadn't been consuming fruit at all, and then ate some watermelon and immediately got those same things. I was nauseous. I felt like someone had just kind of like sucked all the energy out of me. I was super fatigued. I thought I was going to throw up. I mean, it was really bad. And I used to eat watermelon all the time. So once you get it out of your system, then you're going to seriously feel what fruit feels like and what it's doing to your body. So you have to detox from it and then add it back in and then see how your body responds. Sherry, hello. Joy, hello. Monica, good to have you here. So all these people are asking for notes. Joy, the better I understand something, the easier it is to add to my everyday life. There you go. Chris, my favorite quote, nothing tastes as good as amazing feels. So true. Sugar is still my downfall. Actually, a fasting I don't know what you were trying to say there. Chris, sorry, didn't mean to send, made me feel tired. Oh, no worries. That's okay. Yeah, so nothing tastes as good as amazing feels. And so detox yourself from fruit and then add a piece of fruit back in and then see how your body responds to it. I have to be very careful these days with fruit. And again, the first sign of something changing in my body in the negative direction usually means I'm not being as conscious about my fruit as I thought I was. I'm tricking myself, being too cocky about thinking I know what I'm doing with my food. This is where food journals come in. This is where really being aware of how you look and feel and how your body was responding to things. So that intimate relationship with yourself and understanding those signs and signals that your body's sending you will definitely help you with that as well. Amy, so glad you caught us live as well. Mary, you'll get the notes if you guys click on the download right there. Kara's got it on the comment section for you guys. Mary, I joined your April course. Looking forward to it. Super excited to have you. I do drink mineral water. Awesome. I eat fat, protein, and veggies. I do fasting for 16 hours, now 19, but I feel lightheaded though. Does it get better? Yes, it does. For sure it does. I also feel better not eating fruit. It's nature's candy. Yep. Okay, cool. So the best thing that you can do is become your own scientist. Know how things are broken down chemically and processed and stored in your own body so that you know and you can visualize when you put something in what's going to happen in that process in your body chemically, which in turn becomes hormonally, knowing that your body cannot lose weight or balance itself out when your hormones are constantly robbing Peter to pay Paul. Your hormones need to be working in harmony for you to affect positive changes in how you want to look and how you want to feel. And if you want to look and feel your best, then you really have to figure out what living authentically is for you. We teach all of this in our Intermittent Fasting for Today's Aging Woman course. Within 3 weeks, we can help you guys really change the frustration level that you have with your own body as you're going through the change of life. And the change of life, remember, happens at different stages for different women. It is not necessarily an age specific or generational specific or decade specific type of thing that's happening. We have women in our course from their 20s all the way up to their 90s. The course is designed so you can do it at your own pace. We do it as a monthly group, so we have accountability and support of other like-minded women going through the course with us. So if you're frustrated with what you're doing with your fasting, if you're frustrated what it is with you're doing with your feasting, if you're just not understanding what's going on with your own body chemistry, I strongly encourage you to jump into our April 7th course. Carol will put the registration link in both comment section so that you guys can get yourself registered. It's going to be starting up soon, and by the end of April, I promise you, you will be a different woman just by understanding how your body is designed to look and feel around food. So it's definitely worth your time for sure. Okay, so I think that's it for the comments. I hope this helps you guys understand where fruit fits into your life, and something as beautiful and delicious as fruit can be that thing that is really keeping you from being your healthiest and from keeping you from looking and feeling your absolute best. Figure out what authentic living is for you, and then find a place for something like fruit to fit in your life so that you're not sabotaging the results that you're trying to achieve by making sacrifices in the wrong places. Thanks for jumping on live with us today, and thank you for jumping into our rebroadcast. Please make sure that you leave me some comments so that I know that you were here. I will go back in throughout today and tomorrow and address comments or questions that you guys have. Make sure you're putting notes in the note section on Facebook. You'll get the fructose list, and all my current course members will be getting the guide to sugar as well as a fructose list. I hope you guys will jump back on with me Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. We will be discussing another element of what intermittent fasting and feasting correctly can do for us in improving our overall health and well-being. Have a good afternoon, you guys. I'll see you later.